Hello world, and welcome to Snap Together Saturday. 11 minutes left in Saturday in my time zone, but you know who's counting. As you may have seen, tonight I am building the Minipla, it's a long one, King Caucausus Kabuto and Legend, and Guardian Heracles, set. Ta-da. It's actually, it's what it says on the tin. This is the fourth and final release for the year in the King-Ohger Minipla line. They have announced a Minipla, what is it called? King Kyo-Ryujin set. I'm probably not going to get that. As much as I like the updated Gabutira, I don't need all the others. I'd rather just have an updated Kyo-Ryujin altogether that can also combine with the existing ones. I get why they're doing it, but I don't like the way it's being released, and I need to save money, so I'm passing on that. That's Premium Bandai. It's coming out next year anyway. They also have a King-Ohger Zero coming out next year, which, again, that's pass. Black repaints are sexy, but I don't need them that much. Only I've got is Murasame, which is shipping to me now, I believe. So yeah. Alright, I don't want to beat around the bush. King Caucausus Kabuto is the transformed form of the castle you've been seeing the entire show. It turns into a robot. It's only been seen like once or twice, I think, so far. I'm a few episodes behind in the series, but that is... So maybe it's shown up again, but I feel like it's probably been replaced by King Kyo-Ryujin. Anyway, castle turns into a robot. Then the robot can combine with all the Shugods to form. So including... I didn't build this on camera, but it combines with... this one was called Extreme King-Ohger. It combines with Tarantula. And then the three Legend Shugods combines with them to form Legend King-Ohger. No, sorry. King-Ohger combines with the three Legend Shugods. That is Kabuto, Hopper, and Sasori, or Scorpion.
Hi.
Hello. So it combines with those three to form Legend King-Ohger. Then it combines with God Tarantula to form Extreme King-Ohger as well. And then now it can combine with the Guardian, Centipede, Cicada, Rolling, whatever they're calling it, and Snail, as well as the King Caucausus Kabuto and the Guardian Heracles that comes with it for a 20-piece combination called God King-OHGER, which I will be showing off at the end of this build. But for now, I'm going to disassemble this a little bit. Let me get into the swing of things. Don't want to dawdle too much here, but let me just get this disassembled. This is Extreme King-Ohger. Actually, yeah, I'll go ahead and take it apart. Take it into its component parts. Ugh. If I do that, I'm not going to remember how it goes back together. Never mind. Only because I can't remember how God Tarantula is supposed to be. It goes there, goes in the ass, whatever. So never mind, I'm going to leave this combined. We'll just deal with it as is. I'll take pictures later. It is so heavy it needs a stand to stand. Okay. This goes along the back. Get you off to this side. So I got this set in, I think, like a week or two ago. Did not build it at the time because I wanted to do some pre-painting, which I have done. I painted all the gold parts and the silver parts, spray painted them. You can see them here. Ugh. So I did that. Spray painted the gold and silver parts. I might go back and do the regular King-Ohger that way, I don't know, but so I've already opened all the boxes. Here they are. You know, front is the thing, back is the same Muriel, and then the main pictures you've been seeing. Let me get myself situated here. And hello again, zombie. I do see you. Just needed to get my spiel out of the way. Alright. Alright. This is Minipla, so the instructions are the inside of the boxes, that's right. Because I knew I was going to be doing this, I already took pictures of all the contents, so that's fine. I'm already painting that, so it's whatever. Biscuits. Those bits? No. Figure out which pieces I'm trying to get. I think it's these two. No, it is not. Let me make sure of something. Ah, crap. Crap, those dried together. I have to redo that. I'll simply disassemble it to show it how it is, and then I'll take it apart and fix it, I guess. That's a pain. That's my fault. Those parts dried together, and now I've got a big old imprint on there. This is frame B, A. I guess I need these two. Gradually stick my sticks back in the bag. Should I have been a little better prepared for this? Yes, probably, but whatever. All right. B2A5.
We were busy setting up her new phone.
So you said. Hope that's going well for you. How was I supposed to align?
We're pruning the contacts list.
Sounds like fun. B7. Oh, I forgot to cover that one. Whatever. I probably should do that to my contacts, but I just don't. As my B. Oh, is this one? Yes. Okay, there we go. Oh, that was C1. Okay. The piece that I was like, oh, this needs to be double-sided. Yeah. Okay. I have a good eye for this. Okay, stick that in there, and then clamp this down. I guess that's enough. Okay. A2 and 3. I'm gonna put on some YouTube just for background noise. I'll not be watching Mr. Beast. On my main account. Let's watch that.
I'm a fully grown man watching cartoons. I'm a fully grown man watching cartoons on the internet for my very lucrative and successful career, meaning my life has peaked. And since I'm currently living in the high-flying prime time of my lifetime, I will never know the fears of facing irrelevancy or having to reinvent myself to recapture the general public's favor after the ever-accelerating digital age creeps my entertainment value out of public consciousness and into submission. My ever-evolving stage presence and timeless material will guarantee my success for my entire life. But what if it didn't? What if I was still the beloved titan of industry that I am now, but the industry was changing at such a rapid pace that just being really good wasn't good enough? What if I had to do something radical, something extreme, something edgy? What if I had to do what Warner Brothers did to the Looney Tunes back in 2005? What if I had to fuck everything up? Now, this whole video is going to focus on the Looney Tunes property as a whole and a specific spin-off from their time, but for context, we're just going to talk right now about Bugs Bunny, and you'll see why later. Or you won't. I don't really care. It's not my job to force you to pay attention. It's just my job to make sure that you're just interested enough to keep the video running. Bugs Bunny is a time-honored warrior of sarcastic comedy. Who in the hell doesn't know Bugs Bunny? No one. So I'm going to skip the cliche YouTuber history lesson that takes up 80% of the video to pad runtime, and we're going to get to the good bit. Bugs Bunny started out goofing around in cartoon shorts. Short cartoon films. We're in 2023 and the term shorts has taken on a far more disgusting and sinister meaning. Bugs Bunny started out goofing around in short cartoon films in the 1930s and maintained the same format from pretty much then until now. Bugs sits around doing nothing with his worthless life, some adversary shows up to fuck with him, and Bugs turns the tables by fucking with them so hard that they end up either dead or insane. It's funny stuff. And all of that works super well, swell, peachy, super duper keen, until it didn't. You see, Bugs' shtick was beginning to run dry with the more modern and sophisticated cartoon watchers of the 2000s. I am, of course, talking about children, and I'm also not at all joking. During this literal millennial time period, the cartoon block run by Warner Brothers, Kids WB, was hitting a very sharp downturn. A big contributing factor very well was probably the increasingly impressive competition's lineup. And this competition didn't even come purely from the outside. Cartoon Network by this point was also a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, but their rip-roaring entrees, I meant to say entries, but we're keeping that in, into the modern era of animation definitely hampered any blossoming interest the youth market would have in the Looney Tunes. Let's take a look at a lineup of popular Cartoon Network cartoons from the early 2000s, largely considered the absolute peak of that channel's history. Johnny Bravo, Dexter's Lab, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed, Edd n Eddy, which, by the way, is the greatest cartoon of all time, no discussion there, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Megas XLR, which... I know I say every fucking video I have to make another video on something, but I just want any excuse to watch that show again because gone far too quick before its time. Oh, how I miss it. Anyway, Powerpuff Girls, and perhaps most importantly for this discussion, Samurai Jack, Teen Titans, and the influx of popular animes to the West such as Dragon Ball Z. Now, those last three are extremely important, but really take the whole list in. Did you notice a pattern? We are now reaping the rewards of the golden age of television animation. The 90s cartoon renaissance has bled into the experimentation of the early 2000s. Shows are getting more complex, more character-driven in their writing, more nuanced in their themes, and most importantly, darker. Oh sure, Ed, Edd n Eddy and Johnny Bravo regularly featured slapstick that was directly inspired by Looney Tunes, but they also drove into struggles and relatable problems that kids could identify with, such as trying to scam all your friends and trying to sleep with hot chicks. Okay, obviously that's a joke, but both shows were actually really well-written fish out of water stories about maturity and growing up. Courage the Cowardly Dog and Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy weren't afraid to be genuinely scary and unnerving in terms of their intended audience. Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, Megas XLR, Samurai Jack, Teen Titans, Dragon Ball Z, all those other animes, which I want to remind everyone that Dragon Ball Z especially used to air on Cartoon Network during regular daytime programming hours for many years, were really fucking violent. Super unapologetically violent. Put the fucking clip on the screen where Jack cuts a beetle robot in half and like it's the oil is a stand-in for blood, but it's really obvious it's supposed to be blood and he's fucking bathing in the stuff, and that was like episode 2. Now later on Samurai Jack did actually kill actual humans, but that was on Adult Swim and explicitly made for the audience that grew up with it. This was for kids. This is nuts. Looney Tunes never did any of that stuff. Yeah, Looney Tunes cartoons feature relatable issues, but they were ones that typically appealed to adults and the nuances of the nuclear family dynamic, not discussions aimed for school children specifically. Yeah, Looney Tunes totally could be scary and unnerving, but it was typically done for a gag or two and then moved on from. And yes, Looney Tunes is violence. Yes, but never beyond comedic effect. People in Looney Tunes don't ever actually get hurt unless it's there to make you laugh. Now fucking Tom and Jerry, on the other hand, dip their toes into the water of dark shit. Ooh-wee, but that's another story. Well, I think I made my point. I'll go ahead and mosey on over to the entire reason I made the— oh wait, it's Nickelodeon and SpongeBob SquarePants. A whole balloon I didn't even talk about. And then of course there was also the Disney Channel, which, you know, I gotta be honest, Kids WB was pretty fucked by this point. Yeah, they had original programming and all the backlog of WB stuff they could ever rely on, but Looney Tunes ain't cutting it no more. Now, Warner Brothers did see this coming for a while and took measures to counteract it. Typically, since the 1960s, the Looney Tunes short films and other relevant side series like Merry Melodies and Everything in That House were mashed together into compilation shows that were shown as 30-minute episodes on, well, Kids WB and Cartoon Network and pretty much every network they could. Now, when you're just shoehorning in technically reruns of classic animation stylings alongside these new age modern cartoon affairs, it's gonna get old quick. So now it's time for everyone's favorite dumpster fire lit aboard a sinking ship. Spin-offs! First, Warner Brothers hits everyone with Tiny Toon Adventures back in 1990, which was good. You make a new cast of characters that don't skew too far from their original formulas. You make them punky teens with attitude, thanks Power Rangers, and you update the pop culture references to be ones that the parents watching with their kids will actually understand and laugh at, instead of ones that you'd have to have stormed the beaches of Normandy to get a chuckle at. Whammo! You've now got a good show that's a nice little passing of the torch. They even managed to work in a ton of cameos of the original, like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Porky Pig and all the old Looney Tunes. It's a perfect way to say, hey kids, look, this shit's cool and it's for you. It's also even produced by Steven Spielberg, which now means that we get a big giant budget and access to the entire Warner Brothers studio in-house full-piece orchestra, which leads to some of the best music work in television cartoon history, and I would say debatably some of the best music accompaniment in cartoons ever. You know what? Fuck it. Watch this. Watch this scene right now. Do it. Pay attention.
But that's pretty good so far. Let that dry. I'll go back where it goes.
If you know absolutely anything about art, animation, directing, or composition, you know that that shot was really, really fucking impressive. And also, maybe even retroactively more importantly, this series eventually led to Steven Spielberg making even more cartoons with Warner Brothers, which culminated in Freakazoid, which, well, fancy fucking that, I just might have an attachment or two to that show.
This episode is also dedicated to Mrs. Ashley Hugbees of Fuller's Earth, Arizona, because we like saying the word Hugbees. Go ahead, try it. Hugbees.
Hugbees!
Hugbees! Hugbees!
I don't know. Great start, Warner Brothers. What's next? Oh yeah, Tasmania. Okay, so I don't really remember this show, Tasmania. I even Googled a bunch of threads on it, and it seems like it always falls into the camp of, oh, yeah, I've seen that, yeah. Oh, I remember that one, yeah. But no one remembers anything about it, just that it was a thing. Reviews of it that I dug up from back when it actually was, like, airing seem positive. People remember it and go, oh, cool. The end. Fine. Okay, after that, we have a host of really lazy spin-offs that are actually just rebranded clip shows. Then we got Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, which I guess if you can't get enough Scooby-Doo, then this is the motherfucking show for you. Baby Looney Tunes, which doesn't really count because it's explicitly made for preschoolers and a younger audience, and it would air in time slots when all the grown-up kids were at school, so that doesn't matter. And then Duck Dodgers. Yes. Yes. Warner Brothers, you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. You took Looney Tunes, you found the perfect format and universe to expand on, and you turned it into a slightly more mature, more world-built, more complex show that blended action set pieces with the old classic Looney Tunes comedy. Duck Dodgers is a masterclass in how to make a spin-off, and also has one of the most bizarre crossovers in cartoon history that's on my video list. I swear to fucking God it is. Even with all that, it still wasn't good enough. How quickly we forget that in 2003, Looney Tunes tried to capitalize on this newfound momentum with the old "It's working! It's working!" plan, and made Looney Tunes back in action. A movie so flim-flammy, it killed both the Looney Tunes' new potential hype and Brendan Fraser's career. Again. But he's back now, so everything's fine. Look, by this point, we've reached 2005, and none of this is good enough. They had the newfound swing of Space Jam, but then it was just like flop after flop, and all the good stuff just kind of became its own thing and didn't really carry the brand any further. The Looney Tunes are losing their dominating grip on the market that says, Disney's too babyish for me, give me something that goes harder. So they went even harder. What I'm about to play for you now is the initial pitch concept for what this entire video has been leading up to. If you don't know what I'm about to talk about, I just want to remind you, this is absolutely 100% real and was supposed to be taken seriously.
Hey, you gotta check this out.
Check what out?
The TV.
Scientists are now saying that the giant meteor is going to strike the Earth any second. The Earth has fallen off axis. Sightings of giant mutated worms. Supernatural warlords with plans of world domination. The discovery of a hidden dimension. With the world in peril, some say our only hope would be a team of superheroes.
What's up, Doc? The year 2772. The world threatened by sinister forces of evil. The solution, a superhero team like no other. And that's where I come in. I made a few phone calls and organized this little group. Duck, the weapons expert. Slick, vehicles and surveillance. Roadster, the speed. Lexi Bunny, the disguise expert. Spaz, the muscle. And of course, the leader of the pack, the master with his hands, Buzz Bunny. Although you might think these faces are familiar, trust me, this is a whole new world. This is the world of the lunatics.
Wow!
I've never seen that pitch
thing
before.
Looks so cool, and I'm totally not being sarcastic about it. Hey, let me play a clip from a local news organization covering the reboot and polling a child on what he thinks about it.
What do you think, Kenny?
That's an evil Bugs Bunny thing. It is.
Wow! That response wasn't good at all. Well, if children don't like it, then maybe the older nostalgic audience for these good old cartoons will dig it and think it's a cool, silly idea. Let's watch this clip from a viral internet video made back in 2006 talking about this whole thing.
I don't like you. Hell yes you do, you butt fucking d.
This was bad. This was really bad. Absolutely everyone hated this fucking thing. It was so bad, people made petitions online to change the design structure of it to make it less nightmarish. Oh, and by the way, the leading poll was created by a 12-year-old boy from Oklahoma. That's how much they missed the mark. That kid's literally even too young to have appreciated the Looney Tunes in any meaningful way. How fucked up is this?
Whatever you call him, this certainly isn't your daddy's Bugs. The news hit the blogosphere splat like a pie in the face. Animation chat rooms went berserk. Someone tell me this is all a big joke. Continue to draw me like this, Buster, and we'll both be out of work.
Surprising that they feel that there's really a need to update Bugs or the other characters.
Cartoon historian Peter Sanderson teaches comics as literature at New York University. He cautions,
when you stray too far from the core, it doesn't last. It's like a rubber band, you're pulling it out of shape and it snaps back. Eventually, you return to the tradition because that's what has made the character last for decades.
Okay, so that guy's doing an Elmer Fudd impression, right? He's totally doing an Elmer Fudd impression, right? No? So I'm just an asshole for making fun of how a man speaks, huh? Yeah, I figured. And shockingly, the large soulless corporation behind this entire mess did the exact opposite thing that each and every facet of their business model and competition trained them not to do. They listened to and gave a shit about their fans. The idea was shit canned, it was never to be seen again, and the rest is history. No, I'm just fucking with you. For those of you who watched Cartoon Network in the mid-2000s, you know what I'm about to say. For those of you who aren't aware of this and haven't seen it, I'm so sorry I have to do this to you. Lunatics Unleashed aired its pilot episode in 2005. Let's watch the new and improved intro as best we can, depending on how I have to edit it for copyright.
Turns out this... Hi everyone, it's Hugbees talking to you live from the editing dimension. I'm reading this off the screen. Live from the editing dimension. Turns out this show is super copyright protected. Even just showing 30 seconds or more gets the video blocked worldwide. I originally let the Lunatics Unleashed intro play out in full here, but all I can really afford to do is show you the end, which features the entire cast of characters. If you want to see the whole thing and how stupid it is, I play clips of it later on in the video, or you can just look it up on YouTube, whatever. Fun fact you get for pausing to read this: dodging copyright claims like this is one of the reasons I often place myself in front of the footage I'm talking about. Neat!
Huh.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Oh god, Lunatics Unleashed should be a war crime.
Don't worry, I have the answer. Sometime during production, the designs were softened
I never
to
saw
an
it.
almost comical degree.
I remember I heard about it at the time, but I didn't watch it because I wasn't watching, I never watched Kids WB to begin with. I've never seen it. I need to check it out just out of curiosity. I have it can't be that bad, can it? That's my line of thought. It probably can be that bad, but I don't know. I'm curious.
And all of the characters' names and likenesses were changed to give them stronger ties to the baseline characters from which this shitty fever dream all drew inspiration. In terms of lore, the internet's favorite thing, this cast of superheroes, I honestly don't know what they're supposed to be, are descendants of the original 1940s all-star cast. This isn't Daffy Duck, it's Danger Duck. This isn't Road Runner, it's Rev Runner. This isn't the Tasmanian Devil, it's Slam Tasmanian, which, alright, you know what, that is actually way cooler. And keynote speaker of this shit show convention, this isn't Bugs Bunny, this isn't Buzz Bunny, it's Ace Bunny. And don't worry, everyone hated him too.
Oh kids, you don't understand. We're bringing Looney Tunes into the new millennium in a way that the original cast could not. It's all for the kids.
I thought you weren't replacing
Just
them.
think of all the kids. All those happy boys. Oh yeah.
Warner Brothers, in their infinite wisdom, were in too deep to this debauchery and figured their only way forward was to blast their way through, dump what they had, and move on. And by dump what they had, I mean air the show for 2 full seasons? Not just finish one and try it, but do it again? Even though everyone hated it, I'm very carefully tiptoeing around this discussion because in the comments, there's going to be 5 people who are like, dude, Lunatics Unleashed kicks ass and it's the best this show ever made. And I just want you to know that you're wrong, and we'll see why you're wrong because we're going to watch it together, but I'm not at that part yet. There's nothing left to really do by this point except to watch the first episode and talk about it. Now, Look, I could have just watched the show and critiqued it from the beginning, but to me, knowing all of this context really drives in home the diarrhea on display for a lot of my deconstructions. Just reviewing the show is one thing, but learning the sad, silly tales around them is like the cherry on top of the sundae. If you're going in blind to this whole thing like I was before I did all this Googling and tracked down a copy of the show, well then allow me to pop your cherry. We begin in Acmetropolis, a city where Blade Runner vomited all over Cyberpunk 2077 and then forced it to eat that vomit, which it then proceeded to vomit all over Blade Runner 2049, in the middle of a dangerous, record-breaking heat wave. But because irony is a great way to be funny when your writers are too stupid to be subtle, a mysterious giant iceberg shows up in the middle of the metropolis and begins freezing all the citizens.
Now that is cold. Where'd you get it? Iceland?
Actually, no. I just picked it up at a pizza joint downtown, which I must say is abnormally cold for this time of year. But if you really like the pizza they have in Iceland, I could go back and get some of you back in 4.2 seconds. But of course, that is just an estimation because you never know about traffic.
Okay, I gotta sit down. I'm gonna sit down on the. I'm gonna sit on the floor. Oh God. Oh fuck. Okay, my head really. Oh God. My head really fucking hurts. There's so much going on in this introduction that I already need to make fun of. I'm gonna get a chair. Okay, first off, it's pretty common grade school haha gotcha knowledge to point out that Iceland and Greenland are misnomers. Because Greenland is about 80% covered in ice, and Iceland, by contrast, features far more temperate foliage and regular wilderness, not like tundra shit. Now, normally I wouldn't care about this potentially better joke, but the one delivering it is Techie Coyote. Okay, he's the descendant of Wile E. Coyote. Wile E. Coyote, a character whose entire shtick is knowledge blinded by hubris. Techie Coyote should have made the distinction and honed in on the funnier punchline for that, instead of setting up Rev Runner for the punchline, which was not nearly as funny. Second of all, this is our first introduction to any of the lunatics. Techie Coyote and Rev Runner of the lunatics. Okay, pause. These names are fucking hysterical. If these were done as a joke, or done to intentionally try to be as over the top and parodying of the 90s edginess as possible, then this would absolutely wrap around to being cool again. I would love it. I would actually love it. But the fact that this was all meant to be taken completely 100% seriously means that I'm going to have to say these names for you in a very matter-of-fact announcing voice just to get it out of my system so I can read the rest of this script. Okay, here we go. Ace Bunny, Lexi Bunny, Danger Duck, Rev Runner, Slam Tasmanian, Techie Coyote. Those are their names, and I will respect them. Sorta. Kinda, not really, but back to the fucking video. This is the first introduction to any of the lunatics, and it immediately opens up 600 questions, and all of them are pretty stupid. If we assume the pizza place was frozen like the people in the intro, how is the pizza fully frozen but not the box? If we assume the pizza place wasn't directly attacked but is facing residual effects of all the freezing going on, does that mean Rev Runner was served an obviously inedible frozen chunk of water with the Italian dish trapped inside it caveman style? Or did he steal it from the restaurant in the middle of a literal supervillain terrorist attack? Or if the attack didn't affect the pizza joint, which seems to be the most likely scenario because Rev Runner's demeanor implies he's completely oblivious that there's an attack going on when he went outside, why is the pizza frozen to begin with? Did Rev Runner speedboat his way into the pizza's industrial freezer and rip out some leftovers that the employees were saving for the end of their shift? Then he made a mad dine and dash for the exit? The bigger question is, doesn't this all likely mean Rev Runner just stole a pizza? And he's supposed to be a... Okay, I don't know if he's a superhero, but at the very least, an original character in a dark alternate universe Looney Tunes fanfiction timeline roleplay Discord? Again, I really don't know what everyone here does, but I don't think stealing pizzas is their MO. And finally, there is one question that this scene does answer, and it has nothing to do with this show specifically. It's just filling in some mental gaps for me that I've had going on for a while. I get it now. This dynamic. I totally get it now. I fully comprehend how a sizable chunk of the internet can put a romantic and overtly sexual relationship between these two. This scene has confirmed it. I get it now.
Hey, Ace! On it, Tech.
Oh, Jesus! Jesus fucking Christ! I just did a comical over-the-top Japanese pratfall that was so unbelievable. Look. Yes, I know, in the intro to the show, it gives us a rundown of the team and all of their powers, but all I can fucking see here is, and say it with me because I know you know the words at home, edgy Bugs Bunny shooting laser beams out of his eyes. This is not a show. This is a fucking Robot Chicken skit. This is not a legitimate Warner Brothers property. This is the ramblings of a stay-with-his-parents stoner, not anything sensical that a scriptwriter should even acknowledge as a good idea. This is what you do when you make an anime parody episode, not the first fucking frames that your most recognizable character base is to be judged on. Look, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little long-winded. Allow me to put it a little more succinctly. What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on is that the writers are at least understanding Daffy's character, or rather his super descendants, who's just literally him with a different name. Duck here spends his introductory moments flexing in the mirror while trying to come up with a superhero name that properly fits his incredible range of powers. That's a Daffy Duck moment, which means this character might actually work. Oh yeah, and one more important detail. He's not shooting fucking laser beams out of his eyes. Okay, you see this door behind me? You see this door right here? This big door that somehow if I hit it, it would be made out of cloth on my end, even though it's made of steel. This door is about to reveal Lola Bunny's descendant, and I'm really curious what's going on here. Now, you see, in the original Space Jam film, Lola's entire point was to serve two purposes in life. Everyone wanted to fuck her, and she was good at basketball. Think of her as the Chuck Jones version of Wilt Chamberlain. But then, in more modern years, Warner Brothers had a few head-scratcher meetings and said, you know, maybe women would be more interested in our properties if our version of Minnie Mouse wasn't just a character there to slam dunk and flaunt her pussy everywhere. Which is awesome, by the way, and didn't need changing, but that's my journalistic opinion. Anyway, when the Looney Tunes show rolled around in 2011, which is about 6 years after this show, which, if you haven't watched it, it's a very good sitcom take on the whole Looney Tunes cast, they changed Lola from being an obvious athlete disguised as a whore and made her a quirky, obsessive girlfriend type with a whole inexplicable life of her illogical nonsense. In even more recent years, they've also tried to give Lola a strong girl power angle, taking her boob and butt bravado and twisting it into a Xena warrior princess cabal in Space Jam 2. Long story short, Lola started out as an alley-oop for Michael Jordan and an oopsie broken condom for Bugs Bunny, before transforming into an oddball and a bad bitch in the last decade. And the key word of that sentence is last decade, because Lunatics Unleashed came out in 2005, which means Lexi Bunny, the descendant of Lola Bunny, is based 100% on a bona fide bimbo. And I wanted to add that context because I want you to be as excited as I am for whatever the fuck they think is going to be a good character walking through this door.
Tech, did you order more than one pie?
No, why?
'Cause Slam is in the house.
What the fuck am I watching, man? So Slam shows up and I'm really mad because he's all frozen and shit, and a guy named Slam was obviously destined to have a cool intro. The Lunatics get a call from Stativa? Satavia? Siddhartha Buddha? Some lady. And Ace Bunny's voice actor just sounds off, and I can't figure out why, but here, check out this clip and tell me I'm crazy.
Lunatics, we have a problem.
You got that right, Zadavia. I'd say we got a serious problem.
The elite global defense force, I think, just now notices that the city they live in is being flash frozen, so Ace Bunny decides it's time to shoehorn in his catchphrase that I guess the Bugs family line has been saying for literally over 800 years by this point.
Yeah, what's up, Zadavia? Certainly not the temperature.
So far, nobody can figure out where this iceberg came from. I don't have to tell you what will happen if the temperature keeps dropping.
I knew it. We're gonna lose cable again.
Who is Zadavia? Who? Is this Granny's long-lost descendant? Maybe it's fucking Dan Backslide's long-lost cousin. Who are you? You are the most un-Looney Tune looking human ever, and for this show, that's very impressive. Look at this screen cap. Look at it. Really take it in. Show this to anyone who doesn't know what this is and tell them this is the modern Looney Tunes reboot airing later this year. See how they react. Look at these stern faces coming from creatures who are known for cross-dressing to make his enemies horny and going meep meep. We're wrapping back around and stupid again, and I'm starting to love it, but only because I feel like I'm watching Looney Tunes as directed by Zack Snyder.
Tech, we'll need some toys to melt this ice cube.
Excuse me, Chief. They're not
See, that's
toys.
already better.
They're precision handcrafted alloy instruments.
I have heard that far too many times from people defending their anime figurines. It doesn't matter what they're made out of, the hot glue marks are gonna stick for life, kids.
We'll take those too. But first, the toys.
The Retrofire Master Blaster. Hold it in the palm of your hand. Squeeze twice, and...
Immediately after this scene, Slam gets his foot caught in one of the guns while he transforms and flies around the room, and it's really poorly animated, and more importantly, it doesn't even come close to getting such a genuine giggle out of me as this frame right here. I'm sorry, can you blame me? I know I keep pausing to point out how batshit this is, but it's like watching The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe. Each and every frame can be considered its own masterpiece. Okay, so then everyone gets out their jetpacks and they fly outside when Ace Bunny says, time to jet, except Rev Runner doesn't have a jetpack and makes blue fire somehow, and they also never explain that, and it's not really important because those jetpacks are very toyetic, and I'm hoping I can still get to the Toys R Us in time to dropkick a crowd of 5th graders in my way from getting that last one. Sorry, that joke was probably too unbelievable. You know, the fact that there would ever be Lunatics toys, not the Toys R Us thing. Oh, a man can dream. So the Looney Tunes with designs last seen on a knockoff backpack in a poor shop in the middle of a rural Indian village try blasting the ice with their blasters. It doesn't work. At all. It's making me question the blaster's inclusion in the first place, so it's time for Plan B.
You're on, Slam buddy.
Okay, so why wasn't this Plan A? Why do we have to go through the whole laser blaster gun bullshit when Slam Tasmanian, who I'm probably naming my firstborn son after, could have single-handedly taken care of the giant iceberg within seconds? The most cardinal sin of lunatics is absolutely the fact that we're 6 minutes in and it's just painfully unfunny. Oh, trust me, there's been a good handful of jokes that I've cut out that just don't land in any capacity, but after that, the most offensive thing about the whole show is that everyone in it's just kind of an idiot. But not the kind of Looney Tunes idiot where they'd go back and forth in a clever dance of outwitting each other. It's more so in a I told you to stop eating things you found under the refrigerator kind of idiot. So Slam somehow melts all the ice in the city by spinning around really, really fast, and Danger Duck gets dick-devastatingly jealous and wants to start a discussion that... Why Lexi Bunny got tiny butt cheeks? Why Lexi Bunny got tiny butt cheeks? Techie don't have any tiny butt cheeks. Why Lexi Bunny got tiny butt cheeks? Slam spins fast enough to become global warming's best ally when Lexi Bunny's tiny butt cheeks and her extra long ears pick up that the iceberg is doing something, and then it crumbles to reveal a giant Viking warship. Okay, wait, stop. Look at the scenery in this shot. The iceberg is very, very clearly in the middle of the city. There's buildings and stuff. And in the establishing shot on the monitor, it shows it is smack dab in the middle of downtown. How did they get to a dock? How is there a giant boat in front of the waterfront and that's where everyone is now? Look, I know "What's up, Doc" is Bugs Bunny's catchphrase, but there's 3 key differences between the old delivery and this. Number 1, the catchphrase refers to a doctor, not a shipping dock. 2, this is Ace Bunny and his team, not Bugs Bunny. And 3, and most importantly of all, this show sucks absolute fucking dick. And out of the ship jump some cyber Vikings who are, in each and every way, cooler designs than our protagonists.
What's up, Doc?
I am gonna.
Gonna what? Go to a Viking convention at the Civic Center?
No, we're here to take over your world.
You know, you Frosted Flakes might as well go back to where you came from, because this is a no-invasion zone.
Did you see it? I pointed out earlier that the animation is really bad, but this is really embarrassing. Hi kids, Hugbee's here, and it's time for another chapter of everyone's favorite segment, Why Japanese Anime is Peak Animation. Anime understands a very good principle of creating the very time-inducing medium of animation. You put your best stuff on display and cut corners when it doesn't matter. Have you ever noticed that tons of animes have incredible, amazing, well-animated intros, and then a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time, the actual show's animation just kind of very slightly begins sliding down in quality and never hits the level of the intro? That's because anime intros are very often outsourced to other studios who can dedicate way more time to just that sequence, while the main animation team focuses on producing the entire show. For example, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the best anime, is a very well animated show made by David Production, but their intros, which are very complex, well choreographed visual delights, come from Kamikaze Doga, or Kamikaze Duga. I'm going to say Doga, and everyone's going to get mad if I'm wrong, and I'm not going to care. This also happens in a ton of Western cartoons as well. Check out this clip from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles intro from 1987, and now compare it to the actual animation of the show. There's a noticeable decline in quality, right? Now the key difference is JoJo's and Ninja Turtles understand that they have already won the audience over after the incredible title sequence, which is important because you're going to be seeing that opening title sequence most likely more than any other animation in the show. Once that's established, the job of the main studio is to create solid enough animation that fits within the budget and time frame of the show's production, but is also serviceable enough or impressive enough to the people who actually want to watch the whole show. Now let's tie this back into the Warner Brothers Uncreative Vomit Party. Sorry, I meant to use the official title. Let's tie this back into Lunatics Unleashed. The Lunatics Unleashed intro is really bad. It's clips from episodes with character key art posts and a whir of largely useless special effects. It sucks. And for a cartoon from the 2000s, it feels very blatantly like a quick slapdash job to take advantage of the new emerging field of lazy, cut-and-paste, schedule-smashing digital animation. And the point I'm making with all of this is that if your intro is a stale, generic piece of shit that's not selling your show in any way, and your animation of your show is a copy-and-paste digital hackery, then your consistency better be really fucking high, because people are going to be paying attention to the writing, characters, and world building more than anything else. So this animation error of Ace Bunny's jetpack blinking the fuck out of existence should piss you off just as much as it does me, because I can't be the only one paying attention. Okay, fine. We can calm down with one of the few enjoyable bits from the show so far.
We will conquer your world by any means necessary.
No, you won't.
Yes, we will.
No, you won't.
Yes, we will.
Yes, you will.
No, we won't conquer your world!
Have it your way.
Ooh, I will enjoy crushing you, rabbit!
Really standard Bugs Bunny style back and forth here, and I'll admit it got a chuckle out of me the first time I watched. but it's specifically because while the animation here is just really, really bad, the counterplay of these over-the-top X to the extreme character designs having such a childish argument gets me a bit giggly. When this dynamic happens in a classic Technicolor cartoon, there's some actual smug banter going on. But in this cartoon, it's like watching Captain Picard and a Klingon sitting in a car while Picard hovers his hand over the Klingon and says, "I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you." It's just hilariously out of character by just glance alone. You don't even need context to know that something isn't right here.
Let's put this city on ice!
They rely entirely on Ace Bunny to use his laser vision, and it doesn't work, so they all just kind of stand there to get frozen together, even though each and every one of them has a laser cannon that was made by Techie, and they spent 3 whole minutes introducing us to the fact that they all have superpowers, but I don't know, everyone just huddled together and be stupid, I guess. How did the gang get all frozen together in what looks like their key art poses when just before this they were clearly huddled together having emotions and stuff? No, look, that is not at all how they were frozen, and why are Rev Runner's eyes totally blacked out? Anyway, Danger Duck's superpower, which I didn't talk about before because who gives a shit, is teleportation. And while he's entirely frozen from tip to toe, thereby unable to think or move, he uses his teleportation to get out of the ice block. And now I get to bring up one of my favorite arguments in all of fiction, which I lovingly dub the Ant-Man paradox. Teleportation as a power in fiction pretty much can never work unless you establish the caveats that you can't control it or there's limits, etc., etc. Because if you are given rampant location immediate change, such as growing and shrinking in size, teleporting, zapping, etc., etc., I need you to ask yourself this question and realize that that concept ruins any and all stories. It's called the Ant-Man paradox because it was very often brought up as a topic of debate during the Avengers movies, but it's an idea that's been around for a while. Why doesn't Danger Duck, at any point in this story, just teleport directly into the anus of his enemies and instantaneously explode them from the inside out? Made you think. The gang continues to make more painful jokes when they get a phone call from everyone's favorite artificial sweetener, Sadavia. And this is the part of the show that gets really weird. Like really weird. I don't know why they did this, and it's cool that they did this, and I just don't have a good explanation for why this is part of the episode. Okay, so Sadavia spends the next 3 full minutes telling all the viewers watching that they should go check out Hugby's Gamer Mode on YouTube. Now, she says that it's this brand new channel Hugby's launched to focus on gaming and other goofy content, and it's really good and worth subscribing to. And then she just goes on and on and on about Hugby's, the best creator on this entire website, decided to put out a large chunk of content for absolutely free alongside his typical uploads, and all that you have to do to see it is check out the channel linked in the description. That's it. Now, why would Warner Brothers do that? Why would Warner Brothers pause the entire cartoon, no matter how bad it is, to advertise my new gaming channel a whole 18 years before it even exists? How did they know I would link it into the description of this very video? You know, Hugby's Gamer Mode, my new gaming channel. That's so weird. Anyway, when that strange tangent is over, Sadavia boringly explains what we all have completely and utterly figured out just by watching the show. And the gang's attacked and the Vikings shoot a big blaster cannon that uses a stock ray gun sound effect that you've no doubt heard 400 times before. We, the audience, are then treated to another gourmet smattering of impressively unfunny jokes, and then Exposition Bunny explains that being frozen in the ice block together short-circuited their jetpack backpacks, which keen viewers will point out should not affect Rev Runner at all, because he makes his jetpack flames through his body. But that was all back when he was busy channeling the Shadow Realm via his sclera.
Got a backup plan, Tech?
Glad you asked.
That part 2 done. Just the paint on that chest that isn't
Toyetic! And then they fight. Oh, sorry. Oh, fuck. Fuck, sorry. Oh, shit. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just falling asleep from how dull this all is. No, not the show. It's the fact that right now I'm entertaining thoughts of people enjoying this piece of shit and having genuine nostalgia for it. So Ace Bunny's incredible leadership plan, worthy of making him the next president, is to attack when they run out of stock laser beams, which he for some reason knows exactly when that will happen, and then it does happen, and we get this premium specimen of lemon taste skin crawling cringe.
Let the fun begin.
Aye, aye, Skipper.
Lunatics, unite!
It's like my entire body ate a warhead. I'm not sure why an involuntary reaction of backwashing vomit was the response the Warner Brothers executives wanted to achieve with this show, but let's just say the only thing preventing Mr. Clean from having to step in right now to mop up my carpet is the 8-pack abs that I keep hidden under my shirt at all times. I don't know whose abs they are, but they're really handy. And then God, in his infinite wisdom, appears as a holy visage of light in the clouds and says, "Fuck this. Fuck all of this. I'm canceling all of this for good. In fact, I'm canceling this entire fictional version of Earth because it fucking sucks." Now I wish this is what actually happens.
Tech, you've outdone yourself.
You can say it. I'm a genius.
Launch the torpedo!
So long, ice peeps.
Yeah, Slam. We didn't see that one coming.
Toy, nope, did that one. Did that already. Did the hidden guitar joke. Okay, I'm just gonna stand here. I don't know where to put my hands. I'm just gonna stand here politely until this is over. What's going on now? Oh, they're flying now. Oh, it flies now. That's so cool. If I was 10, this would be something that nope, never mind, because this is still during the peak era of video games. Resident Evil 4 came out the same year as this, and boy, that's way cooler than this, I'm just saying. So there's all this complex, stupid, really dumb, I'm out of words for it all, bullshit, nonsense, techno stuff that fails, and Slam Tasmanian takes over and improvises, just throwing the mortar shells at the other ship. Have you ever noticed that pretty much every single problem in this show either is or could be solved by Slam Tasmanian just hulking the fuck out? All the fancy schmancy, ooh, it's 700 years in the future crap has been pretty much useless compared to benching 3 times your body weight and Googling whether a creatine shake or enema is the more efficient path to swollenness. The point is, why make a show about being as toyetic and future designed as possible when every single problem's just going to devolve into, and then the Tasmanian Devil knockoff did the thing that Taz already had done for nearly 100 years by this point. It's pointless. If you want to give us new characters that are totally original and donut steel, give them something original on their formula. I'd see all of this working far, far better if they went the route of Beast from the X-Men. Beast is a big, hulking beast, but the joke is he's a hyper-intelligent, sophisticated doctor who values science over Hulk smash. Change the characters so that Slam Tasmanian is the one making all of the inventions in the show. That way you get a good noticeable divergence from the mindless destruction of the original Tasmanian Devil. Yes, you can also make Slam Tasmanian super strong, but give him a weakness such as he abhors violence to a ridiculous level of pacifism, or when action goes down and he's not able to hide behind any of his technology, he's actually an inept fighter and a huge coward. Then for Techie Coyote, rename him to something like Wrecky Coyote. which is a closer tie-in to Wile E. Coyote, by the way, and make him a bloodthirsty, out-of-control violence maniac. Are these totally different characters than the ones we've grown up with and love? If they are, then play with the formula and mess with it to create something different and interesting. You know, the entire reason to make a new roster in the first place. And if these are just supposed to be the same characters again, then why make a new roster at all? So far, the entire show's plot could be replaced with, one day, Bugs was fucking around like he always does, and he accidentally locked himself and his friends in a time machine. When they awoke in the future, they met some cosmic space bitch named Splenda, and she gave them superpowers in exchange for helping to protect the futuristic post-apocalyptic Earth from evil, because they're the chosen ones or some shit. Now there's a lot, and I mean a lot of reasons to really hate this show, and you should. But something that, as a person who really values good writing and world building and emotional character investment, there's something that really fucking frustrates me with this show. I have zero, zilch, nada reason to enjoy this new cast of characters or want to see them do anything. We are 13 minutes into the pilot episode, and every single character it's the Looney Tunes, except they ride futuristic vehicles. The end. That's it. That's all that's happened. I hate this show. I really do, and we still have a whole third act to go. The enemy ship explodes and there's some unfunny quips, and Slam Tasmanian begins fucking Lexi Bunny just out of frame until the Vikings crash land and the lunatics unleash their terrible attempts at jokes all over the ship. They deduce that the Vikings get their power from their horns, and it's just something that Techie says and is able to figure out immediately, because I'm guessing that his breakfast consisted of a big glass of Sunny D mixed with Ritalin. And then this shit happens.
Hey, Rev, can you get me a read on them Nordic nut jobs?
They're heading for the planetary power grid.
Okay, can everyone just do everything in this universe? Rev Runner is both a speedster and a GPS. Ace Bunny is a martial artist, and he can shoot lasers out of his eyes. Can Lexi Bunny also brew a mean espresso using just her tiny butt cheeks? Does Techie create nuclear fission by urinating? Why is Slam Tasmanian, a character who never speaks, still the best character so far, because all he does is smash and that's all I need to know about him? This show was blatantly made to sell product first and answer questions never. Buy the toys based on the vehicles, get the merchandise with the characters on it, keep the Looney Tunes relevancy alive, and shut the fuck up. Which is really funny, but we'll get to that later. Okay, so the Vikings that weren't on the ship that got exploded are gonna try to freeze the city's power core, which will destroy the whole planet because that's how this planet works. And while they're successfully sabotaging and infiltrating the core's outer shell, I'm just gonna scoot my chair back over here so I can get comfortable while I remind everyone who forgot that each and every lunatic is an impressively dumb motherfucker. The lunatics are aware of the enemy's exact location. Danger Duck can teleport, and Rev Runner can run at supersonic speed. What do you think the lunatics' plan is? If you guessed stupidly fly in on their fourth unnecessary vehicle of the episode and save the day, then you're wrong! Because they're gonna fly in on their fourth unnecessary vehicle of the episode while doing some sick coordinated loop-de-loops to give the villains ample time to cripple the city's power grid by freezing a portion of the core and then save the day. Just watch this next part. I don't even want to fucking talk about this anymore.
You picked the wrong planet to invade, Pally.
Why Lexi Bunny got tiny butt cheeks? Why Lexi Bunny got tiny butt? And then the most boringest action scene to ever be boring happens, and everyone's just so absurdly overpowered that when they really care, they don't ever lose a fight, which, you know, they almost never care though, because they got to make sure that there's time to ride a brand new vehicle every 6 hours, but whatever. Tech rewires the bad guys' helmets, and utilizing a core overload, he kills every Viking ever. But we haven't been very loony, have we? That fight scene was about, I don't know, 3 hours long based on my slowed passage of time. We gotta throw in some slapstick. There's no Looney Tunes without slapstick. Show me something loony.
Aw, Tech. I was just about to let him have it.
Talk about taking one for the team.
Tech?
Well, Jesus, that was horrifying. We cut to what I assume is the Lunatics Watchtower, featuring a thick white outline to the left of the screen that I'm going to assume is due to a misaligned animation layer, because I want to take each and every single angle I can to tell this show to go fuck itself. Oh, and then the show ends. Yep, that's there's some really awful attempts at comedy and character building in the last final scenes, but the show is over. All that was left was like 2 minutes of nothing. So now that it's over, and remember that this show would continue on for 2 full seasons, what did everyone think of it? According to an article from USA Today, world-renowned talking person and anti-comedian Jimmy Kimmel made a joke on his talk show about the new designs, saying, quote, "Tweety Bird looks like a hooker from space." Now, normally I'd applaud the Man Show alumni, but more importantly, that's not Tweety Bird. That's not even Roadrunner. That's Rev Runner, you stupid motherfucker. I know I'm calling Jimmy out on this 18 years too late, but I really think we should just cancel him over the whole thing. But out of all the big news commentators and proto-web 2.0 wisecrackers, I think Warner Brothers themselves put it best in a retrospective article written by the New York Times in 2010. Current president of Warner Brothers Animation, Sam Register, made a statement in that article claiming that art from the Lunatics Unleashed is permanently framed and hung on the walls of Warner's animation studios as a reminder of what not to do. And there is one final lasting piece of legacy that's bizarrely full circle and ties a lot of things with this video in on itself, but it requires me to speak some words aloud that I promised myself I would never utter again. Have you ever seen Teen Titans Go? Okay, so there's this show called Teen Titans Go, and it's got an episode called Hugbees, which has forever and ever ruined what happens if you Google my name. But it's an episode where the Lobe from Freakazoid shows up and starts running amok in Teen Titans land. And the Titans conclude the only way to stop the Lobe is by resurrecting his arch-rival and 90s superhero, Freakazoid. Go ahead and give a gander at the first 17 seconds.
Crime alert! And it's coming from Warner Brothers Animation in Burbank.
Oh, but no! Has someone jumped in the friend spout? Did they reboot the Lunatics?
Weird, right? How all this just kind of swirls together into a big Hugbees expanded universe? But regardless, this name drop alongside a couple other self-aware snides showed that this series now exists primarily as the butt of a joke and nothing more. Outside of these little rib jabbers, I haven't heard a single utterance of this series ever. And the only reason I'm even doing a video on this is because I had to get my grubby little hands all over it to see what the problem was myself. I had never even seen this show before I started this project, but it happened to echo deep within my subconscious after seeing the phrase Lunatics appear on my upcoming projects list 4 separate times, which meant I knew it was time to put them back in the spotlight for the first time in almost 2 decades. Okay, now here comes the big plot twist of the whole video, the turnaround point where I drop some shocking information on you not readily available in the first place. Here it goes. I don't like this show. Lunatics is impressive in that it's not just bad, it's a microcosm of how to make the worst cartoon imaginable. A completely soulless boardroom directed idea passed off as a faulty passing of the torch. Too stupid for any competent artist to realize it doesn't work beyond the realm of self-awareness, and yet in that perfect sweet spot for out-of-touch suits to push off as the new hotness. Drenched in blatant toy crossover promotion, nostalgia wankery, brand parasitism, and worst of all, definitely worst of all, a complete and utter lack of actual comedy. I mean, fuck me, Ace Bunny makes the "What's up, Doc" reference 4 times in the pilot episode, and not even Bugs Bunny himself said it that often. And the show is so blatantly made to sell toys and merchandise, and yet hardly any of it was ever made because the show was just so unpopular. And what little prototypes they did make looked like this. Lunatics is absolutely joyless. It's not funny, it's not interesting, it's not exciting, it's nothing. A lot of my video reviews of panned pop culture often include specific bullet notes of things I do like, places where the work in question succeeds in concept. Maybe they had a really good idea and executed it poorly. Maybe there's a moment or two where things do come together, but they don't capitalize on it. Maybe we hit the golden child of doing things so badly that they wrap back around to being amazing, harnessing the concept of so bad it's good and making it its bitch. But the only bitch here is me forcing my way through this slog. Just watching the first episode took me like 3 days because I couldn't bear to stand another minute after getting the script to a minute ratio of about 400 to 1. Lunatics Unleashed is truly a pitiful cartoon. It's such an obvious death rattle of depraved relevancy in an ever-evolving market. Lunatics Unleashed is a checklist of the production assembly line without any facet of heart left in it because it was stuck in the back of the delivery truck. Lunatics Unleashed sucks. Bad. And I'd wager it's the worst thing that the Looney Tunes have ever done. Oh, wait, no, the racism. There was that time where Bugs Bunny was just super racist. Like, really racist. Okay, never mind.
Wow. I knew it was bad, but like I didn't know it was that bad. Okay. Ignore that this gold is not matching. I knew that it didn't match my spray paint gold, but I didn't know how to deal with that. I'll have to figure that out later. That's me. This isn't my main channel, so I'm trying to, like, my usual recommendations aren't coming up.
This is a list of just some. This is a list of just some of the things that Shockwave's done. I knew he was bad,
but damn.
Say hello to Shockwave.
Seeing himself as a servant of logic more than a servant of Megatron, Shockwave sees his lack of emotions and empathy as a strength more than anything else. Let's take a few minutes to look across the continuities and ask whether Shockwave is the most evil Transformer ever. He created some of the most notorious, he trained some of the most sadistic, he time-traveled to rewrite Cybertronian history and religion, he turned a Titan into a monstrous undead Titan, he set up his own vacation resort in the Caribbean, he's tried to destroy Earth on many an occasion, and of course he tried to snuff out the whole entire universe a couple of times, but you know, palm trees and stuff. His list of evil deeds is long, so let's get stuck right in, but before we do, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff, because I might do similar vids for Flame and, I don't know, Tarn. Let's see how it goes. So when you see Shockwave getting stuck in gun mode and then shoved down Bruticus's dorsal cannon and blasted out like someone plugged a dolphin's blowhole with a banana, it might be hard to imagine Shockwave being all that evil, but just wait. Let's start with Transformers Prime. As Megatron's second in command, who was left behind to watch over Cybertron in Megatron's absence, during which time he managed to reverse engineer Space Bridge tech, with what must have been very limited resources. So this guy is not just a fearsome warrior, he's a genius scientist, and he's a cold, calculating tactician who eventually clones the savagely powerful Predaking and unleashes him on the Autobots. In the Marvel Comics continuity, he was commanding the ship that shot down the Transformers Ark and became stuck in tar after a confrontation with the Dinobots. He gained leadership when Megatron consumed Poison Energon. He killed a bunch of weakened Autobots and strung up their bodies, literally ripping this guy in half. And he decapitated Optimus Prime. And then he worked with Ratbat on the Club Con plot, which was, get this, running a holiday resort on a tropical island, which was actually a Decepticon war cruiser in disguise. He was going to use this base to drain energy from the Earth's ocean or something. I don't know, it was fun while it lasted. Keeping it lighthearted. He was also in the Transformers Creo stop-motion animation, where he was a judge in a dance competition.
Please say dance off, please say dance off.
And he was pretty biased, like he scored Starscream really highly when he clearly sucked, and scored B really low when he was smooth. In G1, like in many continuities, he invented space bridge tech, so of course the plan to bring Cybertron to Earth, resulting in wild weather patterns across the globe, was ultimately his doing. So climate change is ultimately his fault too. The first time we saw him messing around with time travel was when he built the Chronosphere, which they were going to use to bring Energon back from the past. And also he tried to blast the aerial bots back to a time before there was even a galaxy.
They're so naive.
And he commanded the Decepticons in their attack against Unicron. Interestingly enough, his death was written into the original Transformers the movie script, but it didn't make the cut of the movie. But he was shown in the 2005 graphic novel as being killed by Unicron, being caught in the blast of Unicron's I-beams, which is why he wasn't in Season 3 and Season 4 of the Gen 1 series. In Transformers Energon, he was as big a threat to the Decepticons as he was to the Autobots, openly stating that he wanted to overthrow Megatron in what was a more brash and arrogant take on the character called Shock Blast. This guy shot an Autobot called Padlock in the back and later tried to get control of Unicron, which backfired and ended up with Unicron controlling him, and he went on a rampage before being crushed like a bug by the Chaos Dealer. Yeah, this was a pretty different version of the character and wasn't the sharpest tool in the box. In Cyberverse, he planned to use a pair of magnetic disruptors to cleanse the Earth of all organic life to make the hunt for the Allspark easier. And he built a planet smasher on the moon. Then planned to use rockets to push the moon into Earth, destroying it again, allowing him to find the Allspark in the debris. In the fall of Cybertron comics, Shockwave might not have created Grimlock, but he was the reason that he got a dinosaur alt mode. He did horrific experiments on poor Grimmy, his machinery stripping him down to his bare components, until at one point there was almost nothing left. Basically flaying, if you think about it. Ugh. But he's also the reason he's so dumb, as he broke into Grimlock's mind and reduced a highly intelligent bot into a feral berserker. Oh, and speaking of Fall of Cybertron, I'm doing a playthrough on my gaming channel.
E.
The Allspark in the debris. Allspark easy magnetic and Unicron, which backfired and ended up with Unicron controlling him, and he went on a rampage before being crushed like a bug by the Chaos Dealer. Yeah, this was a pretty different version of the character and wasn't the sharpest tool in the box. In Cyberverse, he planned to use a pair of magnetic disruptors to cleanse the Earth of all organic life to make the hunt for the Allspark easier. And he built a planet smasher on the moon. Then planned to use rockets to push the moon into Earth, destroying it, again allowing them to find the Allspark in the debris. In the fall of Cybertron comics, Shockwave might not have created Grimlock, but he was the reason that he got a dinosaur alt mode. He did horrific experiments on poor Grimmy, his machinery stripping him down to his bare components, until at one point there was almost nothing left. Basically flaying, if you think about it. Ugh. But he's also the reason he's so dumb, as he broke into Grimlock's mind and reduced a highly intelligent bot into a feral berserker. Oh, and speaking of Fall of Cybertron, I'm doing a playthrough on my gaming channel. I'm going to start off with doing Transformers Devastation, then War for Cybertron if I can find a copy, then Fall of Cybertron. Links below. Right, where were we? In the Dreamwave continuity, we saw Shockwave that would occasionally work with the Autobots, mostly because of the lack of Energon forced him to, but again, it's a good example of him putting logic above all else. He worked with Jetfire to investigate the Chaos Trinity, made up of Bludgeon, Bugly, and Mindwipe, who were messing around with the dark arts to try and open the Well of Sparks to gain the powers of the Fallen. But Shockwave cooperated with Grimlock to form a coalition to bring them down and seal the well. More on the Well of Sparks later. He then led an attack on the city of Iacon, instructing his troops to show zero mercy towards the Autobots, and later showed his power when he killed 2 Guardian robots with 1 blast from his gun mode. After they breached the Autobot base, Shockwave blasted Prowl before the whole op was messed up by Starscream when he started up a planetary engine. It had been going pretty well for the Decepticons up until this point. Starscream. Shockwave later studied Astrotrain and Blitzwing to try and come up with more Transformers with multiple alt modes, but because of Energon running low at that stage, he came up with the more efficient Micromasters instead. But then they complained that they weren't getting their fair share of Energon and defected to the Autobots. Shockwave dropped them a little visit to say, fine, you're free to go if you want to, but secretly planted a tracker on them to monitor their movements. Funnily enough, one of the Micromasters, Flanker, did change his mind and wanted to come back to the Decepticons, but Shockwave tossed him to some cannibalistic Insecticons to be splattered and devoured, again showing that at no point were the Micromasters meaningful to him. He just saw them as a way to further his goal. At one point, Cybertron ran out of energy altogether and all the bots went into stasis in what was known as the Great Shutdown. But Shockwave was saved from Sharkticons, then rebooted by Scourge, only for Shockwave to turn around and shoot him in the back. Oh, thanks for saving me. Now die. Apparently he did this to get all of the knowledge that Scourge had gathered in his exploration of the universe. He later supercharged himself before shooting Ultra Magnus in the back. No! Defeating Optimus Prime before ripping the Matrix of Leadership out of his chest. Which he then used to activate Vector Sigma and download a bunch of data that he may or may not have used in the creation of Six-Shot. And I'll have a vid on him at some point too, don't you worry. Now, in the middle of this particular storyline, Dreamwave Comics went bankrupt, so this one never got finished. But we do know that Shockwave would have gone back to the Well of Sparks and broken open the Seal of Primus itself to siphon from within the well the power needed to create life. Little did he know that he had loosened the essence of the Fallen himself in the process, a consciousness which had gone on to take root inside Sunstorm. Alright, moving on, in Transformers G.I. Joe, he defeated Combiner Superion by turning into a huge artillery cannon, in another very cool take on the showing of how powerful his gun mode is. And in the comic called Infestation, he bowed down to accept the rule of H.P. Lovecraft's Elder Gods. More about that in my Wildest Transformer crossovers vid, which will also definitely include the time Shockwave became a ghost in Transformers Ghostbusters, and how, because of Shockwave's space bridge tech, which malfunctioned to open a portal between realities, causing the Cybertronians to cross over into the My Little Pony universe of Equestria, which gave us that mad crossover where, from what I understand, Shockwave was going to make ponies into Energon. I don't know, I haven't looked into that one yet. In the 2014 Transformers vs. G.I. Joe, he tipped over an aircraft carrier before incinerating a bunch of humans with his I-beam while yelling, "Fry humans!" I don't know. In Of Masters and Mayhem, he tried to engineer a bot based on Optimus, but the experiment went awry and it somehow developed the ability to produce a toxic sludge, hence it becoming known as Toxitron, before it escaped and murdered his creators Loud Pedal and Oil Slick. This Optimus copy was used to grow a copy of the Matrix, which Shockwave used to contain the spark of Thunderwing. This thing came to be known as the Matrix of Malice and was used by the Mayhem Attack Squad. These guys were like the con version of the Wreckers, and they even combined to form Thunder Mayhem, who the Wreckers countered by combining to form the combiner known as Wreckage, the most Decepticon-looking Autobot combiner ever. Now, I just found out about these guys, so unfortunately I didn't include them in most powerful combiners, but I will definitely find a spot to talk about them further down the line. Moving on. In War for Cybertron Siege, he himself chose to delete his emotions, Elsewhere, it was something that was forced upon him, but more on that later. He discovered that the Allspark was real and planned to mess with the Allspark's energy to convert all Autobots into Decepticons. Something which Megatron thought was kind of extreme. He was kind of hesitant about it. But if you thought that was bad, he tortured Ultra Magnus after the dude willingly gave himself up, and then came up with a virus to destroy the Alpha Trion protocols that Magnus's death had unleashed. And he used Magnus's corpse to unleash the virus despite a worry that it could damage Cybertron's infrastructure. Don't worry about that. This whole thing did reveal the Autobot arc though, so winner winner chicken dinner. After the Allspark was thrown into the space bridge and the Autobots pursued it on the arc, Shockwave persuaded Megatron to harvest energon from his own troops to use in his completion of an enormous battlecruiser called the Nemesis. An act that shocked even Megatron, but he eventually went along with it anyway. So Megsy left to follow the arc, and Shockwave stayed behind. So what did he do? Yep, he harvested a bunch more Decepticons to power himself and his guards. God knows what he would have done to Elita 1 here had this alarm not gone off. And developed cloaking tech for himself. I mean, you know, morally horrific, but you know, I bet he had a load of fun with that. Morally dubious fun. But we definitely need to spend a little while talking about the IDW version of Shockwave, because his actions spanned hundreds of thousands of years and had consequences for the entire universe. But to get a good picture of who this guy is, we need to look at his backstory. So long before the Cybertronian Civil War, he was a prodigal student of Giaxus. At this stage, Shockwave was far from the guy we know. He was pretty expressive and emotional, changing his color often and frequently having emotional outbursts. As the Cybertronian Empire grew, they needed more and more energon to fuel their expansion. Hearing of the prophecy of Dark Cybertron, Shockwave sets about creating a self-sustaining energy source, so started experimenting with ores created from distilled energon. Giaxus was humiliated when his creation Monstructor was beaten by Omega Supreme, so Giaxus left aboard an ark, leaving Shockwave to pick up his mantle, and he started studying ancient Cybertronian history, including the 13, being the first 13 Transformers created by Primus, each hugely powerful and a prime in their own right. And as it turns out, Shocky Baby had a hand in that too, so we'll come back to that. Shocky Baby. Anyway, Shockwave became a senator and spent loads of the Treasury's dollar on research projects that saw him founding many off-world colonies, helping the supernaturally gifted Transformers called Outliers, vid coming on them soon, meeting the legendary Omega Guardians, and he even learned of a mythical artifact called the Magnificence. Growing dissatisfied with the Senate, he modified a few select Cybertronians to be able to carry the Matrix of Leadership in their chests, in the hope that one of them would become Prime and steer the society away from the corrupt ways of the Senate. Among them was a certain security bot called Orion Pax. So Shockwave, a pretty productive member of Cybertronian society so far, right? The corruption in the Senate was proven when the current Prime Nominus was assassinated by Sentinel, with Senator Shockwave next on his list, basically because Sentinel hated Outliers. And so they subjected him not only to shadow play, a process where his emotion processors were cut out to forever alter his personality, but Sentinel also subjected him to Imperator, a punishment that involved removing his hands and head and replacing them with generic ones. All that gave us the Shockwave we are familiar with, but rather than subdue and subjugate our guy and make him fall into line like what they wanted, all the Senate did was remove his morality, with him instead falling back on the cold, unfeeling ruthlessness that is logic. He joined the Decepticons and agreed to give Megatron a combiner for his arsenal, in exchange for a lab and funding to continue his research. He then went back to his plan for a self-sustaining energy source, which was now coined Regenesis, and involved shooting a bunch of missiles, each loaded with a different ore, to a selection of different planets to see how they would develop under the differing planetary conditions. He spent 500,000 years traveling from planet to planet studying the properties of the ores on these planets, one including Earth. But just think about that, even in Cybertronian terms, that's a big chunk of years. That is the patience and meticulousness that we're talking about here. Anyway, he found that one ore had become a highly volatile explosive, one could suck the life force from everything around it, and one even had the ability to transcend time and give him brief glimpses of the future. Like he even shot Dreadwing dead just to test one of these ores, just to see if just to see if the ore would bring him back to life. Thankfully for Dreadwing, it did. Whilst he was on Earth studying one of these ores, he started another particularly cruel experiment. He happened to come across the Maximals, managed to erase their memories, and brainwash them into thinking that they were other important figures from the Cybertronian War, then set them about ripping chunks out of each other for years so he could wargame and analyze. Jesus, man. He removed the Achilles virus from Overlord, which was a great idea. See, Overlord was nearly invincible because of the processes Megatron put him through, but Megatron didn't want his newest superweapon turning against him, oh no, so he had Shockwave install a failsafe virus. But to bargain his freedom from prison Garrus 9, he agreed to remove it, Overlord being one of the murderiest, sadistic, murderers that ever sailed the seven seas. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Then later, after Megatron was catastrophically damaged, Shockwave rebuilt Megatron into this terrifying form, which somehow included a space bridge, which we'll come back to. Shockwave used parts of Megatron's old body to make copies of his gun mode to distribute amongst the human population, knowing that they would inevitably turn them on each other and pew-pew each other into oblivion. Later, when he needed space bridge tech, Shockwave casually went in, messed around with Megatron's body, and zoink, yep, you've got Nova Prime and Galvatron stargating their way through his chest. Interestingly, Shockwave was one of the few Decepticons that wasn't pulled into forming the colossal behemoth known as the Deceptigod, when all other Decepticons were, and he just stood and watched as Megatron took it on by himself. And the reason he wasn't pulled into this was because the entity that took control of the rest of the Decepticons, the Devoids, used their belief in the Decepticon cause to take control of their minds. But at this point at least, Shockwave didn't believe enough in the cause to be lured into this, his priority being what he saw as the survival of Cybertron. After this, he parted ways with the Decepticons and re-established contact with Jihaxus, and he awoke a Titan that had been slumbering under the surface of the planet Gorlin Prime. The Ore 2 began reacting with the ore within the Titan, which created a fearsome Necro-Titan, basically a zombie version of Metroplex, which, using Waspinator's Bee Stinger, yeah, you heard that right, Shockwave controlled to devastate the city of Iacol. Now, the reason he did this was to lure Metroplex back to Cybertron, bringing the Ore 7 with him, and in so doing, all of the ores that Shockwave had scattered across space were now on the same planet. Uniting the Ore 7 with the Ore 2 and Ore 14 put the power of life and death in Shockwave's hands. Merging Ore 6 with Ore 8 granted him control of the potential energy of all matter, and fusing Ore 1 and Ore 13 bent the fabric of time to his will. With all of this power now at his disposal, Shockwave set about his ultimate endgame, to collapse all of reality into a singularity the size of a pinhead, and use that to power Cybertron forever. All of the power of all of the stars, all of the planets and their molten cores, all of the lives of the universe crushed down to a single atom, to have their life forces harvested and slowly drained for eternity. Thanos did not have shit on this guy. Shockwave was only beaten because, as he used a time machine to start draining the energy of the dead universe, scattered random moments from his life began entering his head, and only his singular, cold, and unemotional focus stopped him from losing it altogether. It wasn't until the sight of Megatron renouncing and donning an Autobot insignia confused him for long enough for him to lose control of this vast power. He remembered who he was before he was subjected to Shadowplay and Imperator. He remembered his friendship with Orion Pax and came to realize what he had become, and eventually asked Megatron and Optimus to blast him so that he would be consumed by the power of the time machine. At least that's what everyone thought, because what it actually did was blasted him back in time, only by 12 million years though. There, he came across a guy called Onyx, wandering around looking after some beasties or something. Shockwave realized that this dude would later turn out to be one of the fabled 13 Primes, the first Transformer to possess a beast mode, in fact. Anyway, Shockwave killed him, yeah, to step into his shoes and take his place in the timeline, setting out on another complicated master plan that would span every corner of the galaxy in pretty much the entire span of time, with his ultimate goal to undermine all of Cybertronian history and religion, basically. He made a disciple of a guy and named him Megatronus, instructing him in the ways of war and encouraging him to build his own empire. Then, he invented the Dark Cybertron prophecy in one of those headfuck time loop moments. And then, he started engineering the fall of the 13 Primes. steering the primes into infighting and genocidal conquests, notably the planet Antilla, where this dude invented a certain planet-sized killing machine to strike back at the Cybertronians. He also invented the talisman to end all life on Antilla, both Antillan and Cybertronian, and the whole planet collapsed into a black hole. So yeah, thanks for that, Shockwave. And if you're wondering how you could top that, you know, essentially putting yourself at the center of everything that ever happened on Cybertron, well, you can't really. But in an alternate timeline in the PS2 Transformers game, Shockwave probably quite rightly rebelled against Galvatron's abusive brand of leadership and used the Zell Quartz, which could amp up the power of a Transformer tenfold to stage a mutiny. But the power was too much for even his brain to handle, and he went nuts, killing many an Autobot and Decepticon in the process, and eventually destroyed all of Cybertron, a feat that not even Unicron managed to accomplish, before embarking into the galaxy to snuff out all life. The other Transformers had to jump back into the past to stop him finding the Zell Quartz to begin with.
I'm Prime.
What? But I'm Prime.
I'm Prime.
What?
So, even though I'm sure I haven't covered everything he's done, we have seen how he's remorseless, how he takes the notion of calculating to a whole new level, how he's willing to go to the greatest lengths, scheming over millions of years, universal cleansing of entire civilizations, messing with time, stabbing his friends in the back. All this, and he can still get a good night's sleep? Yeah, he's definitely one of the most evil Transformers ever. Okay guys, let's leave it there. I'm sure that I won't have covered everything this guy has done, so make sure you pop anything that I've missed in the comments below. If anyone's interested, I'm going to start putting some Transformers gaming vids up on my gaming channel. I'm going to play through Devastation, then War for Cybertron, then Fall of Cybertron, and eventually Reactivate when it comes out. Link is in the description below. Next up on this channel is craziest Transformers crossovers, maybe most powerful entities that aren't Autobots or Decepticons. Or who knows, we might even get some Rise of the Beast stuff over Easter, and hopefully that'll be worth talking about. Guys, as always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch my videos, and I will see you very soon for the next one. Cheerio, bye!
I see. Okay, so yeah, that's supposed to go, yeah, okay.
Cinema is a mirror by which we often see ourselves. Cinema is a mirror that can change the world. They made a movie about the moon smashing into Earth. They made a movie about the moon smashing into Earth. Ouch. Roland Emmerich, a director I just can't stop talking about. Please help me. I don't know what it is about Emmerich movies. They never have particularly good plots or characters. They're fundamentally bad films, but I'm a sucker for disaster movies, and he really is the only one still doing them. Emmerich is proof that sometimes just sticking to a particular niche is all it takes to put food on the table. Just like talking about Emmerich movies. After a long career of having America get destroyed by aliens, climate change, and an ancient Mayan prophecy, I thought Emmerich was done with these type of movies. Can't really top 2012. There were no more worlds to conquer. Or were there? Moonfall was a movie I was just excited to hear about when it was first announced. The concept just sounded so dense. As a scholar in the disaster genre, I knew I was going to be in for a true Emmerich experience. A real classic. And I guess I was the only one, because nobody saw this movie. It bombed at the box office. The budget for this was $146 million. In the US, it made 19. It was pulled from theaters after 6 weeks. I think more people saw videos about Moonfall than the actual movie. But if you did see this movie, it changed your life forever. I would not describe Moonfall as a good film. God, no. But I just don't have the heart to call it bad. Don't get me wrong, there are so many fundamental flaws here. But man, it's so insane, I can't dislike it. It's like a dog that tore up your furniture and shit on your rug. Oh, I can't stay mad at you. This movie feels like it came out 10 years ago. Like it was originally slated for 2008, but got sucked into a time portal. Only recently was it spat back out. Now you might be thinking, alright, that's cool and all, but how do you make an actual movie just from this plot? The moon falls. Cool. Where else is the plot gonna go? You have no idea. Our story begins with like a minute of logos, a true sign that we the audience are about to watch some high art. All of it spliced together with footage from Apollo 11. This ain't Dark of the Moon. Neil and Buzz aren't about to discover Sentinel Prime. We're introduced to our two main characters, Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry. They have actual character names, but at the same time, do you care? Through this totally normal dialogue that isn't forced or clunky at all, we learn these two are the best of chums.
What does it even mean to miss the rains down in Africa?
The lyrics are, I bless rains down in Africa.
What?
Is that a thing some people get confused by? Isn't that like the only part of the song anybody even remembers? Is this a common thing I didn't know about? This poor attempt at witty banter is suddenly interrupted by the smoke monster from Lost.
Mr. Rain down in Africa.
Off he goes. The smoke monster shuts off all the electronics on the space shuttle before burying itself into the moon. An event that nobody else happens to see, despite it being on the side facing the Earth. 10 years later, Patrick is a disgraced astronaut. NASA blames Patrick for the space shuttle disaster as a way to cover up the whole alien monster story.
A passing meteor or a solar flare could have caused that kind of disturbance, correct?
Why blame Patrick for all of it instead of just saying it was a natural disaster? Why are they publicly blaming an astronaut for not detecting a meteor, something that's not even in his job description? Why did the script forget what the job of these people are? They ruined this guy's life for literally no reason. His wife left him for Michael Pena, who owns a Lexus dealership, and his kid is a loser who goes on joyrides getting chased by the police. Sam from Game of Thrones is also here.
I always wanted to be a wizard.
Who hacks into a telescope and discovers the truth that the moon is just shifting off its orbit. Don't you just hate it when the rules of gravity and physics fall apart? Really ruins a Tuesday. Sam tries to tell NASA, but they won't listen. So like any Redditor from 2015, he asks himself an important question.
What would Elon do?
What? Somehow Sam is able to tell the world about the moon incident. How does he do this? I actually don't know how. Like, I thought he hacked into NASA's alert system or something on the first watch, but nope. I really think he just posted it on social media, and everyone immediately took it seriously.
It's trending on Twitter, hasn't it?
Oh god, it's trending on Twitter? That is something Elon would do. Because of this news alert from an unidentified source, everyone begins to fucking panic. It's pandemonium in the streets. Okay, alright, quick pause. It's something I've been wondering ever since I saw this movie. If you got an alert that the moon had shifted off its orbit, how many people do you think would actually care? It's not like saying an asteroid or nuke is headed their way. There's just no precedent to go off of. If everyone got a news alert that said the moon was leaving its orbit, I think the first main reaction would be, why is this on my phone? But in Moonfall, in the first minute, everyone immediately understands the ramifications. I just can't help but laugh at all of this.
Take a look around you, man. It's worthless. Whatever. Let's go.
It's such a bonkers problem, and everyone plays it so straight.
Tell me there's been some kind of mistake.
I wish I could, but the math actually checks out, so it's happening.
The moon's coming to Earth. we're in the Majora's Mask timeline.
As frantic shoppers continue to stockpile supplies, as mounting moon terror fuels the mass migration.
Moon terror? NASA discovers there is a giant hole on the moon, so they send out a team to investigate. It goes about as well as you would expect. The tides are coming in and wrecking up the place. Luckily, absolutely nobody is out on the streets, so I'm just assuming everyone is fine. Day After Tomorrow in 2012 had thousands of people tripping over each other. And in Moonfall, we have like 20 convention goers at a Holiday Inn. Alright, so what's going on here? The smoke monster that's attacking the moon is some sort of mechanical machine, like nanomachines. Yeah, you know. Since it's a robot, the solution NASA has is to EMP the hell out of it to stop whatever it's doing to the moon. So, just like the Will Smith classic I, Robot, if you kill the robots, you save the world. The only problem now, though, is that NASA has no working spacecraft in any capacity. So they dust off a space shuttle like it was that Xbox 360 used to own before it died of red rings. And just like your Xbox, the shuttle breaks down for a bullshit reason. An earthquake just coincidentally happens exactly where the launch site is. It's not enough to destroy the spacecraft, but it's enough to slightly damage some engine parts. You know, that's unfortunate. It's a bit of a setback. Everyone just gives up. The president, the military, all of NASA who aren't our main characters, they pack up their bags and leave.
But it's now time for you to go home.
Ah, damn. I really wanted to save the Earth, but AutoZone is closed today, and my schedule's so busy, and they got that specific part of the shuttle I needed. Well, it was a good run. The military goes to their bunker in Colorado and resorts to their original plan, which is to just nuke the moon.
The military. They're prepared to use everything at their disposal to stop the moon.
You can't be serious.
I'm dead serious. They're gonna nuke it.
Everyone has such wrinkled brains. Even if you detonated all of the nukes on the moon at the same time, it still wouldn't blow up. This is a massive celestial body larger than North America.
We're launching a counterattack. Large parts of the moon will rain down on us.
What's the plan here? Truly all hope is lost. Or is it? As you see, the closer the moon gets, the stronger its gravitational pull will be. So why not just use that as an advantage?
It can't be done.
If we launch when the moon is directly above us, the increased gravitational pull should give the shuttle a boost.
All you need is Halle Berry pressing the big red go button.
We're underwater, guys!
Sorry, science enthusiasts. You don't win today. They zip past every boulder and rock crumbling off of what used to be our moon, all without taking a scratch. The gang tries to trick the smoke monster into eating the EMP. But the plan falls apart, all because Sam forgot to set his phone to airplane mode. Because of Sam's chronic tech usage, the Earth is truly doomed. There is no Bruce Willis to stay behind and detonate the moon. Not giving up on the Earth just yet, our trio decides to go inside the hole to confront the monster head-on. The moon rock begins to shift into metallic steel.
This must be the hull of the megastructure. The moon's mantle's just a protective shell.
Alright, so I might have left out one important piece of the story. The moon is fake. The moon's actually an artificial megastructure, and the entire moon is hollow inside. It houses a Dyson sphere with a white dwarf. And the guy who called it all from the very beginning was Sam.
What would Elon do?
The whole movie, Sam schizo rants about how the moon isn't real, and the further along the plot we go, the more you realize, oh shit, this guy's right. Each one of these movies takes a batshit conspiracy theory and then just makes it real.
You lure them in with humor, then you make them think.
It's beautiful. And because this giant spheroid is made up of sci-fi alien metal, it isn't going to break up once it gets close to Earth. The moon dust and the rocks are all just a facade. The smoke monster turned the moon into a giant bowling ball that's careening into Earth to kill all of humanity. After running away from the smoke monster, the gang crashes inside one of the moon's hangars. They wake up in that one room Squidward was stuck in. Apparently this entire time, the moon ran on an advanced version of Windows 7, and it has its own construct AI that runs everything. The space AI just begins lore dumping on Patrick, and by proxy, us the audience. This disaster B movie from Roland Emmerich has lore, deep lore. Billions of years ago, an ancient civilization controlled most of the galaxy. All was right and good, until it wasn't. The advanced AI the aliens used to build their society just decided to rebel one day. So there was a galactic-spanning war between the aliens and the AI, and the AI won, destroying all of the shield worlds the aliens built, except for one, the last refuge for the aliens' descendants. Humanity. Yep, the moon was built by ancient humans. Ancient, spacefaring humans. That's the plot of Moonfall 2022. So, I'm going to be honest. I love this. If you're going to have a movie about the moon slamming into Earth, there better be an explanation for it. Oh, why is the moon out of its orbit? Why can the shuttle fly out of the water? And then Moonfall just goes boom. Ancient humans built the moon. Shut up.
I got you now, you fucking moron bitch.
The funniest part of this whole artificial moon thing is that NASA knew about it the whole time. The Apollo missions discovered it was hollow. NASA found out the smoke monster existed decades ago and was even trying to kill it, but then they just didn't.
The only shot we had to stop it was Zulu X-Ray 7. It was shut down, shelved, for budgetary reasons.
All of this was thanks to budget cuts. I entirely forgot to talk about the B-plot of this movie.
You do know how to start a car, right?
So, the second part of this movie is the kids and the obligatory Chinese actress going on a little road trip adventure. They have to get to safety. How do you get to safety from the moon slamming into the planet? You tell me. Probably not by going high up into the mountains though, where the moon is the closest and the air is the thinnest. So they go high up into the mountains. The Rockies have a bit of a crime problem apparently because the kids are immediately carjacked by some goons.
Smartass!
And these goons are some minor antagonists for the rest of the movie. The two villains in Moonfall are an intergalactic AI that has been fighting humanity for billions of years, and some rednecks.
You a college boy?
So anyway, our trio teams up with Space Alexa to destroy the robot before the military nukes the moon.
Let's go, you son of a bitch.
I don't think the nukes are the main thing anyone should be worrying about anymore, but to save the world that rejected him so, Samuel Tarley of Hornhill finally accepts his destiny as a PC gamer and destroys Xbox once and for all. The moon avoids narrowly crashing against the Earth. The world is truly saved. You can tell it's saved because the movie ends with this happy orchestral music and our characters are all smiling at one another. Okay, well, let's make this clear. The world is basically over, right? Like, everything is dead. I can't think of another movie other than The Knowing that had this amount of total destruction. This movie is like one of those videos you see online that says, what would you do in this situation? And then it's just this. I don't know, what would I do? Die, I guess? Sure, you technically accomplished your mission and stopped the moon from completely crashing into the Earth, but it was still barely, like how a D- is technically passing. Forests were ripped out of the ground. The Chrysler Building is just in the Rockies. The last of the American government got crushed by a rock. I'm pretty sure what just happened was 1,000 times worse than when the asteroid hit the dinosaurs. All of our main characters are going to live in an absolute hellscape for the rest of their lives. We're talking constant famine, space debris will constantly fall from the sky. This is now just the Earth from Cowboy Bebop. A constantly changing landscape riddled by asteroids. Human civilization is permanently stunted. This planet is just unsuitable for life now, but at least Sam gets to hang out with his cat Fuzz Aldrin in virtual reality. So that's cool.
Conclusion.
So there you go. That's Moonfall. It's kind of disappointing this movie failed so badly. We need more stupid films like this. Just absolute schlock. Roland Emmerich certainly isn't at the height of his career anymore, but I like that he can still make stuff that feels like it came from 2008. That sounds like a backhanded compliment. I hope he just keeps raising the stakes in these disaster movies. The amount of things being destroyed goes beyond our planet. So I propose, His last movie should be his magnum opus. And I have an idea. I call it Andromeda. What am I looking at here? Sir, our galaxy and Andromeda are supposed to collide together in 4.5 billion years, but the readings I'm getting are off the charts. They don't make sense. I've done the calculations on my telescopometer, and English, damn it. Well, sir, if my calculations are correct, our two galaxies won't collide in 4.5 billion years anymore. The impact will be in 4.5 weeks. My God. My email's open, Emmerich. Contact me. I will write that movie. This is not a joke.
Okay, and that is Guardian Kabuto. Guardian Heracles, sorry. Alright, we're done building. I have used exactly 0 stickers. Proud of myself. The paintwork needs to be cleaned up, that's normal. Let's put it all together. Again. There we go. Alright, so that is King Caucausus Kabuto Castle. The main castle scene throughout the series. Obviously, you can make it look a little better by what was their trick? They actually engineered in a joint that you can use. Yeah. It ain't great, but there it is. The other Guardians. I was supposed to put the red dots on the eyes here. My collection of Guardian Shugods. Oh, your face is not turned the right way. Alright. Now then. Turn it into the actual Caucausus beetle. We will do the following. Didn't I get it in there? Shit. Okay, so to transform it, bring the arms up and angle them down like that. Bend the legs in like this. And that is it. Oh, okay. That's it, huh? Of course, this is the Heracles X. Shit. transform it to robot mode. Bring the legs down. Like so. Arms down. Rotate them around. Rotate them at the bicep here. That way you get the okay. Oh, it's supposed to slide? I didn't even realize. Okay, that goes on the on the shoulders. And you can hold the X like so. Okay, so there he is. I guess we'll deal with the chest later. All right, I get Extreme King-Ohger over here. It's about to get messy. So how is this about the same height as King-Ohger? A little bit taller. Obviously, Extreme King-Ohger's got more bulk to it because it's got the whole ass tarantula on the back. Let's see what we gotta do here. Split this body in half. God damn it. Okay, so for Extreme King-Ohger, we take the gun off there. Take the head off. And take the legs off. The head, put it back here. For those who can't see what I'm doing, I apologize. There's a lot to contend with. I got those correct. Yeah, that's correct. Are these correct? It'd have to be. It's not adding up here. As far as what connects to what. Oh, did I get the legs on the... Oh, I got the legs on the wrong side. That's what it is. Okay, okay. I took my pictures incorrectly then. Look at that. I did. Whoops. Got my pictures the wrong way around when I took those. Let's fix that. I'm going to do this. I got to do it like that. There we go. Let's try this again. Get something out of the way.
Hello and welcome to Hold on a second. Hello and welcome to No Effort November, a series of videos for the month of November where I try my best to not try so hard. These days, it's pretty trendy to turn on the lights by yelling out, "Howdy, Goo-Lexa, turn on the lights." And after a few data packets bounce back and forth between your house and the servers of who knows how many tech companies, yet more data packets eventually find their way to a light switch that has a Wi-Fi radio in it because why not? And if you're lucky and the stars align and you're still in the good graces of Daddy, it will turn on some lights. Or you could just do this. That not enough for you? How about this? Ooh, a different thing. That's right, we are talking about the clapper. Perhaps the original smart switch, so long as you don't count X10, which, for the record, I'm not. This classic gadget was brought to you by Joseph Enterprises, who also brought such classics to market as the Of Glove, the Chia Pet, and, let's not forget, the creosote sweeping log. I'm not kidding, by the way. These are all products made by the same company, and in hindsight, that probably should have been obvious. Sadly, the Joseph behind Joseph Enterprises, Joseph P. passed away earlier this year, but his legacy will surely live on. And I'll help with that a tiny bit by expressing my honest opinion that the Of Glove is actually a great product despite its rather ridiculous name, and gets my vote as one of the best as seen on TV things ever. But we're not talking about the Of Glove today, we're talking about the clapper. If somehow that's not ringing a bell, and the gist of the intro escaped you, the clapper is a little plug-in device with a couple of switched electrical outlets. A microphone on board listens for sharp bursts of sound energy, like someone clapping. And if it detects 2 claps in a row within a short time span, it will switch one of its electrical outlets on, or off if it was already on. The second outlet will respond to 3 claps, allowing you to control 2 different things with 1 clapper. But wait, there's more! The device features 3 different operating modes. 2 sensitivities can be chosen for the clap on, clap off function, and we'll get to why that's needed in a minute. And there's also an away function, which will turn on the lights for a brief duration whenever it detects any noise. This can be useful for, say, turning on a lamp as you enter your home, or perhaps possibly deterring theft if the would-be burglar is fooled into thinking someone just so happened to turn on a light at the exact moment they broke a window or opened a door. The clapper's history is somewhat convoluted, as covered by my friend Ernie Smith over on Tedium. Joseph P. wasn't so much of an inventor, but a marketer who found interesting products and was really good at selling them. In the case of the clapper, its original inventors approached him with the product, which, according to this archived interview, they may have called the Great American Turnoff, which, wow. And his company would go on to help get it patented. and also rename it something less weird. However, the original design was not super good. Built using very rudimentary logic circuitry, the original clapper was way too sensitive and prone to being triggered accidentally. This would simply be an annoying behavior, but it was marketed as though it could be used for anything, including a television set.
Just plug in the clapper and a television, lamp, stereo, almost anything you want to clap on and off.
And since television sets are famous for making noises, not just through their loudspeakers, but perhaps clicky and clunky sounds as they power down, well, the original clapper could get stuck in a loop where it repeatedly switched it on and off. Electronic devices generally don't like having their power repeatedly applied and taken away, and the upshot was that it broke stuff. Not good. That, combined with a dispute between Joseph Enterprises and the original inventors, led to the hiring of Carlisle R. Stevens. His task was to make the clapper actually work somewhat goodly, which he promptly accomplished with circuitry that was a little smarter. The Smart Clapper was released in 1987, and it's pretty much what this thing is. The idea was exactly the same, but with a control chip that could actually discern different durations of noise, as well as recognize the pacing of 2 discrete pulses, or 3 for controlling a second device. This later version added LEDs to show when it detects a noise it thinks is a clap, and also when it rules out something as a non-clap. This is useful for learning how best to use it, which, indeed, there's a learning curve here. You wouldn't think so, but there is. It's finicky. Let's just put it that way. And that's part of why it has 2 sensitivity settings. The LEDs help to show the threshold of noise with which it will react, and you might want more or less sensitivity depending on where you place this thing and how tolerant you are to false triggers and or hand pain. Inside, we find a few surprises. Firstly, would you look at that, the contacts that engage with the plugs actually have bumps on them to mate with the holes found on most US plugs. The first time I've ever actually seen this in use, and it's in the friggin' clapper of all things. But I suppose that extra bit of plug grabbiness is useful since the plugs you plug into this will hang straight down. The second surprise is that what I thought were amber LEDs to show the status of the switch are in fact the glass tips of neon indicators. I don't think I've ever seen them used like this before, and that's a fascinating hack. But perhaps the biggest surprise in here is the switching component they elected to use. These are triacs, the same solid-state switching devices that get used in dimmer switches to chop up the AC waveform and reduce the power available to light bulbs. In this case, they're being used as simple on-off switches and aren't chopping up the waveform. But to me, they're a very odd choice. They continued to market this thing as useful for switching radios and television sets, and using a semiconductor component in line with the power supplies of those things feels risky, both to the thing it's controlling and the triac. They did protect the outlets with a fuse, but I'm still puzzled by this, and purportedly some devices, like compact fluorescent light bulbs, wouldn't work with this clapper or could be damaged by it. The rest of this, though, is pretty unremarkable. The control chip is hiding under this blob, although it is interesting that it's on a little daughter board. I'll bet this was a cost-cutting revision, and that the original chip was in some sort of square component package. Then we have some support components to create a power supply for the chip and the triacs, and of course we have the microphone to detect sound. Some versions of the clapper also came with a wireless remote control, allowing you to use it without clapping. And if you're thinking, doesn't that defeat the point? Well, see, here's the problem. As clever as this idea is, and as useful as it can be, it's still far from perfect. It doesn't know what a clap actually is. It just responds to quick bursts of sound energy. So lots of things can trigger this accidentally, like, for instance, pets or children making noise as they play. Even things outside your home can trigger it. If you reduce the sensitivity, that can help alleviate false triggers, but it means you gotta clap. The most effective thing, in my experience, is to only use the 3-clap side. But that reduces the functionality of the device and goes against the jingle, which is devastating. Adding a remote control functionality to the device was a pretty big admission that it doesn't work all that well. Now, in fairness, a different read would be that perhaps some folks want to control the lights with the clapper when others are asleep, and 2 loud claps, it might wake somebody up. Adding a remote gives the best of both worlds, depending on need and situation. But it still doesn't fix the problems with false triggers, sore hands, and product incompatibility. It's just a value add. Not necessarily a bad one, mind you, but it does feel kind of antithetical to the point, at least to me. But through the magic of 15 years passing, I have a more modern version of the clapper which fixes one of its problems. Rather than use triacs as the switching components, this fella uses relays. That means it's safe, * to control practically anything with this, so long as it's within the rated current, without worrying about it being damaged. The only downside is that now you'll hear a click with each activation, but that's not much of a downside. * all the other weird quirks of this fella are still there though, so while you can plug most anything into this without worrying about that thing getting damaged by it, you could also plug in like a small space heater or a coffee maker or something that really should not be used unattended, and since false triggers are a continuing problem, that would be very bad and unwise. To be fair, they warn explicitly against this on the device itself, and they've left the rated wattage at 200 watts for each outlet. The relays they used are rated to handle 15 amps, but this little fuse here, which I think is 4 amps, but the label's kind of hard to see, will put a stop to any funny business should you try it. Honestly, I think the clapper is pretty much only useful for controlling lights, and the other use cases are pretty contrived. And apparently, the makers now agree. The modern version no longer suggests a television would be a good fit, plus of course we don't use TVs like we used to, and instead sticks to lights and Christmas lights. But at least now you can control any kind of light, like LEDs driven by a power supply, without worrying about damage being caused by triacs letting noisy power through. And that's the clapper. Is it useful? Maybe. Is it a gimmick? Maybe. Does it work well? Maybe. Is it iconic? You betcha. That much I know for sure. They are still for sale should you decide to get your hands on one, but to be honest, this one has been sitting in a box for years. They're fun for a while, but the novelty tends to wear off. But hey, maybe if you get one and buy a nice lamp for it, you'll finally be convinced of the value of switched electrical outlets. But not like the British or Australian kind where there's a switch on the outlet itself to make sure the electrons don't leak out or whatever the heck. Those are silly and redundant. Fight me. Okay, bye! By Joseph Enterprises, who also brought such classics to market, I forgot to get all this stuff ready. And who knows how many servers. Nope. Which will turn on the lights for a brief duration whenever it detects any noise. I said duration kind of weirdly there. Too bad. That can be useful for, say, turning on a lamp as you enter your home, or perhaps possibly deterring theft if the would-be burglar is fooled into thinking someone just so happened to turn... well, 2 flubs in a row. And apparently, the makers agree. I forgot the box. Okay. God. God King-OHGER. I'll show you in a minute. This is...
King-OHGER Minipla version. 20 Shugods. Was it worth it? Probably not. Jesus Christ. I admire the ambition. I definitely admire the ambition. I'm not sure the execution was there, but I can see why the show is probably going for King Kyoryujin as their main gatai. Because Jesus. And there it is. I would take this apart, but I gotta take it all upstairs. So I'll take better pictures, maybe, hopefully, probably, I don't know. Until then, next week, I don't know what I'll build. Because I built R1 just on my own. It's been sitting around. Wasn't going to be a very exciting build anyway. I might do a Dagwan or Firebird. We'll see. Because those have been sitting in my queue the longest. Need to get to Lifrith. The Lanza, Ariel, Kuga Titan form that I just got. I got some stuff in the mail. So yeah, next week probably Dagwan part 1, and then yeah, we'll take it by ear. Thank you all very much for coming out. See you next time on Snap Together Saturday. Have a great night.